Hi, my name is Mary Tabar. I've been sewing and quilting for a long time, and today I would like to demonstrate how to machine applique on the sewing machine. What I'm showing today is a blanket stitch applique. This is fused fabric on another piece of fabric, and how I fused it is 805 Wonder Under. I like to use these type of scissors. They're applique scissors that gets down close to any threads I need to clip. While I'm sewing, I like to use this stylus to be sure that these things are down, although this is already ironed onto the fabric. The needles I like to use are 12s, and I put in a new needle every time I start a project, and other items to help hold down the fabric while you're stitching. And of course, your seam ripper. Hopefully you won't need that. Next, I'd like to tell you about my sewing machine. I have this table here to help me keep my fabric straight and flat. Ideally, you have your sewing machine in a sewing machine desk, but I don't have that right now. And if you don't have one of these tables, you could also use stacks of books. Just something to keep your fabric nice and flat. I have put a new needle in my sewing machine, and I also practice every time before I stitch, because I'm not quite sure that this blanket stitch is what I'm going to like. The blanket stitch that I am using on my machine, I have adjusted. So either I'll write the adjustment down or I will take a photograph of it. All right, first of all, this blanket stitch, if I can explain it, is a ladder or a L shape. And we're going to hold our thread, bring the needle down, and bring it back up. This allows us to bring the bobbin thread up, and now I have control of that. I do that before all machine embroidery and machine quilting. Now I have control of that thread. I'm going to put the foot down. This also is a special foot. It's called an embroidery foot. The blanket stitch does a swing over to my left-hand side. So we're going to start it, and I might not be able to talk while we're stitching here. And I also, on this machine, have a knot. So let's knot it first. Now I'm going to go ahead, use both hands and keep everything nice and flat. If you're having any kind of trouble, that would mean that you need a stabilizer. Right now I have no stabilizer, but if I'm doing something on a sweatshirt or other a little bit more difficult material, I will have some kind of stabilizer. So here we go. We're going to start stitching now the blanket stitch that I have already adjusted to what I like to use. So see how lovely that is? It is going over like an L shape to the left-hand side. Okay, let me get down to the end here. Of course, the straight stitching here is the easiest to do. Now I've stopped. My machine has a needle lift, or foot lift, excuse me, which makes it quite easy. And most of the time when this stitch stops, it's going to stop on the right-hand side. And I have just turned it counterclockwise, and I want it in that right-hand swing, the needle. So again, here we go, stitches, stitch. Now again, I stop with the foot down, I swirl it or turn it. I'm going to take that pin out so that doesn't interfere. And I might just readjust this a little bit more. This design that I'm appliquing right now is a little bit small. Not a problem. Again, I'm going to turn it because I want this circle. And I'm kind of glad that you now can see all these different situations that might happen. I actually just kind of turn the fabric. I'm very experienced in this stitch, and I don't have to stop all the time. It does help when you're doing any kind of machine embroidery to just stay consistent and not stop all the time. So I'm using my little stylus there to hold down the fabric, and there it's swinging over the left, going back, and it's a very nice little stitch. And the reason to do this is so that the fabric won't fray. But it is appliqued down, fused down with an iron. using Wonder Under. So again, I'm using the knee lift and just turning. So I'll come to a point, and I want to have the needle in the fabric. You might have to stop a few times, especially with something this curvy. So I wanted to show you what this looks like after it is embroidered down. This has been straight edges, which is a good place to start, and now the curve edges where I have lifted up the sewing foot a few times, and this is the round. If I had to stop for some reason, which I have done here, I would knot it first. I would knot it by either the stitch I have in my machine, or if you don't have that stitch, sewing in place 2 or 3 times. And of course now, after I've finished all this applique, we want to clean it up. That's the craftsman of sewing, making things look nice. I'll just come, because I have the bobbin thread, I can just come and clip that because I did do a knot before I started. I would like to show you the difference in the applique stitches. This is quite close, and it's beautiful. It's done by my friend Mary Olson, and so you can adjust this to be smaller or tighter if you like. It just made a lovely edge for this applique, and that now will be easier to quilt, and it will look and stay so much nicer with an embroidery stitch on it. Next, before you start embroidering, you should always clean your machine. This is very important. Your stitch will look nicer, the tension will be better. One way to clean the machine is by taking all this out. To clean your machine, I took this screw out and I take the top cover off, take out the bobbin case, and I like to use Q-tips. This area called the race has to be very clean all the time. And because we're doing machine embroidery, I'm also going to use some canned air. So this cleans everything. Again, I want to clean it all and then put it back together. I have my feed dogs up for machine embroidery. So I'm going to put all that back in. And I did not say my bobbin is the same thread as my top. So I'm putting my bobbin in, and I'm holding my needle thread and bringing the bobbin thread up. Putting this back on, now we're all ready to sew. It's going to be a very nice thing. Why would you like to do this? Because the blanket stitch is fast, it's decorative, and it's really quite fun to do. So I hope that you'll try it and do it and enjoy it. Thanks for watching this video. For more information on my classes, visit marytabar.com.